for football.
Yeah, this album is dedicated to all the teachers that told me I never amount to nothing. To all the people that lived above the buildings that I was hustling from that called the police on me when I was just trying to make some money to feed my daughter.
Yeah.
And to all my peoples in the struggle, you know what I'm saying? It's all good, baby.
Check it.
It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. Salt and Pepper and Heavy D up in the limousine. Hanging pictures on my wall. Every Saturday, rap attack, Mr. Magic Marley Marl. I let my tape rock till my tape pop. Way back when I had the red and black lumberjack with the hat to match. Remember rapping Duke? The hard. You never thought that hip-hop would take it this far. Now I'm in the limelight cause I rhyme tight. Time to get paid, blow up like the world trade. Born sinner, the opposite of a winner. Remember when I used to eat sardines for dinner? Peace to Ron G, Brucey B, Kid Capri. Funk Master Flex, Love Bug, Star Ski. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. Call a crib, same number, same hood. It's all good.
It's all good because Nacho's here.
And if you don't know,
Now you know. He's Ben Leber, BenLeber.com, at Nacho Leber via Twitter. Twin Cities Live today, 3 to 4:30. It's weekdays on Channel 5. Twin Cities Live, 3 to 4:30. It's a good TV show. Weekdays, Channel 5. And Nacho, I would imagine, or I would just guess, lots of weather/heat talk on the old TCL these days, correct?
It's funny because, here in Minnesota, we love to talk about weather all the time.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're hanging out with some stranger in the elevator or hanging out with your friends and family. Weather is always one of the top topics when it becomes, apropos, I guess, when it's a heat wave or a blizzard or a snowstorm. What it is. Here's the deal. So we always have at the start of the 4 o'clock, we go news and weather. We talk about the weather quite a bit. Mm-hmm. It's definitely, there are some days where the weather starts first. Mm-hmm. That was yesterday. It'll be the same way today.
Yeah.
And I will be feeling the effects because I'm broadcasting live. We're doing what we call a split show today. I will be down at Mystic Lake Casino Hotel doing the opening for Rib Fest. And it's going to be 100 degrees out there. And apparently that they do everything sort of on the parking lot there.
Yeah.
So it's going to be.
And they have music and everything.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. But I'm bringing 2 shirts, 2 pairs of shorts. I'm going to be well hydrated. It's going to be a squatcha out there.
You ever consider going off script on the old TCL, Twin Cities Live, 3 to 4:30 weekdays, Channel 5, and when the 100-degree, like 106 heat index stuff pops up, you just go off script, off prompter, and you're like, I don't care, I got a pool. You think that'd go over well with the old audience?
No, that wouldn't go very well. That would not go over very well.
But you played a decade in the NFL, so you know the importance of putting people in stressful positions to help them improve.
Yeah.
Not that your cohorts need to improve, but putting people in, even Tom Brady liked to be put in stressful spots he didn't know was coming, so he would improve. Think about it.
Yeah. So I have a weird relationship with heat. I generally hate heat. I'm a true Minnesotan when it comes to that. I think 75, a touch of 80 is like the perfect temperature all the time.
I'd take 32 before 102 10 of 10 times.
You're right, 100%. But there's something about these flashes when we have these hot days. I love going for a run or doing something hard, exercising hard outside on a hot day.
Yeah. Well, you're an athlete.
There's just something about you feel like you're working hard, but the effects of the extra sweat and all that stuff makes you feel like you're working a little hard. So maybe it's like a cheat thing. I kind of tell them, I'm like, all right, I can go out for a 15, 20 minute, let's say, running a hill or something like that. And it'll trick my mind into thinking I got, an hour and a half long workout just because of the fact that I'm sweating like a profusely hot pig.
Okay, so like yesterday at Vikings training camp, it's the first day. There are no pads, there are no fans, so it had an organized team activities feel to it / minicamp. And all the kids were out there. And, I'm certainly not going to mention names because I don't know these people and I don't know what they did for the 6 or 7 weeks from minicamp up to training camp. But, there were a few out there, specifically a couple of beef eaters, who were just huffing and puffing.
Yeah.
And so, I would imagine during the course of your run, during that 4th of July break up to training camp, you would see people who would come back to camp, whether it's the truncated time with St. Louis, your best years with the Minnesota Vikings, or when you came into the league with the San Diego Chargers. You would see people come off that break, and you just know that they did not do much work.
Yeah,
and they overate. They might have drank themselves to an extra 5 pounds. Is now I know you weigh in when you get there, but nevertheless, is that ever a problem? Like with a player when they're a little out of shape, it's super hot, and they're really really huffing and puffing.
Yes, it is a problem. Believe it or not. There are guys, there are lots of guys, lots of offensive linemen that struggle to keep weight on. So it's a good problem to have. They're supposed to come in at, say, 310, and they're kind of naturally a 280 player. And so they really have to work hard. It's hard for them during training camp because you lose so much water weight. Not the Kevin Gorg amount of water weight, but you lose a lot of water weight. And it's hard for those guys. And so there are set standards, there are expectations to keep your weight at a certain level. But then you get some of the beef eaters that will come in. And I know we kind of focus a lot on like offense and defensive linemen, but I've been around secondary players, linebackers.
How about the Ravens? Remember the beef eater who could catch and run, who was a fullback? Patrick Ricard.
Oh, yeah, Ricard.
Whoa, those nimble feet, and he can catch and run. Yeah. Man, he's a beef eater.
Some of those guys have a hard time keeping their weight down. And, you can come back after an extended break, whether it's at the end of the season, it's the first workouts here, back when I was playing in March or whatever, now April, you can really tell. Like, boy, you really enjoyed your extra bacon and on your burgers the whole off season. And even still, from 4th of July till now, there are guys that, look, I mean, I think self-discipline is a tricky thing, even for professional athletes. Guys come in overweight all the time. And look, I have zero sympathy for these guys right now, whether they're in shape or out of shape. When they come into camp, especially now when you have this acclimation period where there are no shoulder pads on, these guys are actually getting a pretty good break. When you think about it in totality, they do one practice a day. It's not old school 2-a-days. They have a few days of no pads on. It's just helmets. And the hottest part of all of training camp for the next 2 weeks is happening right now. Yeah, it sucks.
Those 2-a-days,
but
man.
it's not that bad. It really is not. It shouldn't be that. None of those players should ever complain about the heat because when they put the pads on, it's going to be mid to low 80s for the rest of training camp and beautiful Minnesota weather. It could be a lot worse.
We have a preseason game 2 weeks from today. That and more with Ben Leber around the corner. But first,
the Fan and NMC Exteriors want to give you a shot to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. Go to KFAN.com, enter the keyword grand. You might win $1,000. Keyword is grand.
Is home for football.
Monday. See, you got lucky. You're living lucky right now, Ben Leber.
What's that?
Well,
why?
Because Monday at 3 o'clock on Channel 5, what's going to happen? Twin Cities Live.
Yeah.
Okay, well, with Fox 9, Monday 2 to 3, we have a Vikings training camp bit with like Bursich and I, and we had to give some names for interviews, and we're going over the bits and all that. And I really, really was pushing Brian Harper and Skip Kruger to move that show to 3 to 4 so we could compete with TCL.
No. I always love that one.
If only for one day.
Yeah, you guys wouldn't beat us.
Ben's like, welcome.
You wouldn't. Bring it on.
Welcome in. The water's warm.
I always love that one.
Everything's warm right now. Lots of heat talk on the old TCL, and Golden Gophers football is indeed beginning to heat up with a game in like 5 weeks against the Blue Bloods, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. We had a football coach, PJ Fleck, and I'm gonna ask you this: what? Just he's into his 7th year. What kind of a job do you feel PJ Fleck has done with Golden Gophers football? I mean, you get it, man. It's the whole thing. This market. this conference, the competition now, NIL and transfer portal and all that. How well or poorly do you think PJ's done?
I actually think he's done really well. He came in and he faced a lot of tough, harsh critics early on because of his style and what he brings and the row the boat thing and all this stuff. And it just seemed like a lot of people, including myself, were like, I don't get this. It just seems so gimmicky. But then I became a believer because I really truly believe that he believes everything that he's saying and he's preaching, and he's really trying to build a healthy culture and play hard. And there's an old school mentality about it that's mixed with this new school energy with the music at practice and the runaround. And I've really enjoyed everything that he's building there from a performance standpoint. I think that he's missed recently with a very much down Big Ten West. It's been there for the taking. I feel like they could have been a little bit more definitive with some of their victories and kind of taken control. And they failed to do that for a variety of reasons. So, but I think overall he's building something nice. Let's see what happens with this year. I'm admittedly not following. I don't follow them that closely, but from the way I understand, it's a very tough schedule.
Yeah.
It sounds like they've got a lot of faith in, is it Aiden, the quarterback?
Ethan Caligmanis.
Yeah, there you go.
Illinois kid with a hose, and he can move a little bit.
Yeah. So I like what they're building there, and I cheer for them.
The NIL factor, name, image, likeness. I'm in favor of it, but are there any impacts of it not discussed enough? Like maybe players taking the short gain instead of keeping the long play first and foremost. Like NIL wise, all right, I got Nacho. Now, Nacho can go to Tuscaloosa and he's going to get $1.50. But that defensive system, doesn't exactly fit the kid from Vermilion. Or he could take $1 and a nickel and then go to the system for a lesser school, but it's a D1 school that fits the kid from Vermilion perfectly. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's tricky because I think a lot of kids, when they're coming out of high school, and their parents or guardians included, sometimes they might be a little naive to how this player is going to translate to said school, said program, and conference and all that stuff. And I don't think they always see it clearly. And I think that's just being a little bit ignorant to what's going on. And that's not their fault. They just, you don't really know until you're in it and you really know. So a lot of kids now, because of the NIL, are just chasing money. They're not looking for fit. They're not looking for what's the best place for me academically, socially. How am I going to fit culturally with this? If I'm a down home, old, small town Minnesota kid, and I get an offer to go to, Oregon. Well, is that the best fit for you? Are you going to be happy there when it comes to stuff outside of football? I don't know. But if they offer the most money, well, then kids are just chasing the money. Yeah. And I can't fault them for that, but it's opening up a whole different realm of avenues and challenges for kids and parents and schools alike. If a kid, commits to a program, let's say the Gophers, plays, red shirts a year, develops, plays the next year, is okay. Year 2 in the program, blows it out of the water, all conference. Well, what does that player do?
Yeah.
That player now feels like he's got leverage.
Right.
So then they go to the NIL board, they go to Fleck, they go to whoever the compliance people are, and they say, hey, what do you got for me?
Yeah.
And they sort of open up this open-ended contract negotiation system. It's not, hey, we've got you on a 5-year deal like it does in the NFL. We got you on a 5-year deal. You're going to play for X amount. And I get it. Guys in the NFL do that all the time. You're in the middle of a contract and they say, hey, I went to the Pro Bowl. I want to renegotiate. That does happen. But kids now feel like they have a lot more avenues to do that. Yeah. There's a lot more suitors to do that. They feel like they have a lot more leverage. And I get it. If the player wants to do that, when it chase the money, that's fine. But these coaches are in a tough bind because you're going to do everything that you can to develop a player, get them into your system, get them to play their best, highest potential, break through glass ceilings that they didn't even know existed. And like, wow, like you really got this player to develop. And then that player turns around and says, if you don't pay me X amount of money, I'm going to Purdue.
I'm out.
Purdue's going to pay me, $200,000 and they're going to give me a car.
Yep.
And then Nebraska's came back with $250 and a car and housing. Can you match that?
Wow.
And it's like, man, really? Like
Yeah.
now we got to fork over, X amount, $300,000 just to have you for 1 year?
Yeah. And from the inner workings of it, so say I got the kid from Vermilion who's not going to play a ton as a freshman, but we love him, and the NIL is going to start here. But then you got sophomore or junior who plays more now, but we don't believe will be as productive, and his money situation's here. So therefore, what I'm getting at is people worry so much about other people and their lots in life. Is within the covenant, you know better than anybody, man. Distraction's the ultimate equalizer. If you got people tripping over who is making what and why within that covenant, and your look in the mirror moment is, I didn't get mine. Well, then now you're thinking about running a skinny post, but there's a distraction factor in your mind where you're not completely 100% playing fast, which is required. And then finally, there are coaches around college football who will sense the metaphorical blood in the water with somebody maybe they recruited and they got beat and they ain't playing, and they may catch word that they're not happy. Well, then that's when cousin guy or friend guy gets with so-and-so, and so-and-so tells so-and-so's family that we'd love to have you down here, and boom, the transfer portal's in play,
Yeah.
So like coaches are recruiting high school kids year-round or mostly.
Yeah.
But they also have to constantly recruit those within their covenant.
It's a never-ending free agency.
Right, never-ending free agency.
It's a never-ending free agency. And the other thing I want to add to this, because it's become such a hot topic. Now, this is going to sound a little disparaging, but I'm going to use it against the people out there that really advocate for it, and make it such a big issue. Mental health, right? It's an important issue.
Fair.
These athletes, though, are put under tremendous amounts of stress. Okay, before the NIL, kids are they're under a tremendous amount of stress. A lot of this mental health stuff when it comes to college students, whether you're an athlete, student athlete or not, all of that happened before NILs became a thing.
Yeah.
It's just now become more of a talking point, right? Now, fast forward 5 years from now, when all these kids are in an NIL world, these 8th graders, 9th graders, they'll be going into an NIL world. Their brain has no idea how to handle the stress of being a student athlete, just that on its own. Living in a vacuum, you are a student athlete. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's a lot of pressure. You have to keep a certain amount of grade point average to keep your scholarship. If you care about your craft, then you're working your ass off to be the best player you can be on the court or the field.
Preach.
And then if you come in and say, hey, everybody in the locker room is going to know you're a $300,000 athlete that's getting some money from a car dealership, and you got cash, and you're driving a fancy car, and you underperform, your own peers who you care about the most, who you should care about the most, who you should be fighting for their respect, to earn their respect, to be a brother on the field or on the court, and battle with those guys, they look at you sideways now and say, you're underperforming, you're a fraud.
Wow.
So now you have to deal with the mentals of being a student athlete, and then your own peers looking at you sideways saying, you suck. You don't deserve that money.
That's awful.
That needs to come. That money needs to be redistributed to somebody else because you're not living up to your contract now.
That's absolutely taking place. I mean, within covenants, but the farther it goes, like you said, you get down to 11th grade and 10th grade and 9th grade and 8th grade because it becomes an NIL.
You can't.
You'll get kids lying.
You're going to talk. You want to talk about mental health? That is not a healthy model for young kids' minds. Look, the Greek Freak talked about it when he was offered like the max contract. There was a point in time he was offered the max contract from the Bucks. He had to take a moment as an adult to say, is this sort of pressure that I want?
Wow. Yeah.
I'm going to have this immense pressure every time I step on the court, as an NBA player to live up to this contract with my teammates and the rest of the league and the rest of the people that care about the NBA. He had to really think about how he was going to handle that. And you're going to ask an 18, 17, 19-year-old to handle that as well. Obviously not. We're not talking max NBA contracts, but when you're talking more money than these kids and maybe these kids' families and parents have ever seen in their lives being handed these kids in their pockets for 1 year, dude, that's I do feel like without some sort of guardrails and some support systems, this stuff's going to be a catastrophe.
Let's go to the pro level and let's Brett Favre. Let's eliminate the totality of his HOF career from this equation. But like in 2010, okay, so they beg for him, they give him 20, and he comes here and he's awful. I mean, he just was all done. Looked older, just the whole thing was different. Then Corey Wooten buries him at the College Stadium and the whole thing's over. So like in that situation, somebody new comes, they get all the money, doesn't have to be Brett, can be anybody. How do professional players look at that if somebody gets all the cash and it's okay and it's good, but it's not good enough per how good people think it should be?
Oh, guys do
like
the same.
Back talking?
Oh, back talking. And, you get into the NFL.
Eliminated from the cribbage game.
Yeah. You get into the NFL and, look, Brett was well liked within the locker room. So I think a lot of guys weren't going to say much. And I think everybody everybody sort of understood his situation. Like he was past his prime. We were just kind of trying to hold on to this spark that we had the year before. So, but the case in point is there are guys and there are egos in the locker room. Look at Justin Herbert. Okay. Everybody knows that he's a young, promising guy, gets a fat new contract with the Chargers. If he struggles for the next 2 years and being a younger guy, and if he doesn't handle it the right way in the locker room, absolutely there are egos and guys in the NFL that will call his ass out to his face.
And things are so loud on television and social media now with former players, and those in a very, very competitive world with social media, with podcasts, with radio, with TV, and just all of that entertainment platform. Well, some of the former players, who have gotten the privilege to be on TV or radio or whatever, well, they're even louder and more biting because they're trying to be the next Pat McAfee and start an enterprise like that. So it's even going to cut harder and deeper and even be louder from the former players if things like that transpire. I'll never forget what the late Bug Grant told me in the cafeteria at Winter Park like 15, 17 years ago. Distraction is the ultimate equalizer. And I had never heard anybody say that. So I've just kind of kept one eye on it for the last 15 years. And when you get it better than anybody, man. I mean, up to that Jets game, when you played for the Vikings in 2010, the Monday Night Football game, that Jen Sturger thing that popped, two things emerged. One, if Snapchat had been invented, you probably would have won the Super Bowl. But secondly, it was a distraction. And you can love Brett, and I told Percy, and ultimate respect, he's HOF. That all was true. It still is a distraction, and it derails stuff,
Yeah, what do you think all of us defensive players are talking about? During practice, when we were off the field, we do our 8 to 10 plays during that time, and we are on the sidelines talking about Brett and Jen.
Yeah.
And the picture and all the stuff and what you heard and this person heard, and has anybody talked to Brett? What's he doing? It was a distraction. I mean, very, very apparent from his physical face, looked very tired.
Big time.
Very stressed. And even for us as a team, we were talking about it. When those things happen, it is a distraction. It's very hard. I mean, look at a guy that I like to rail on. Look at Russell Wilson last year. He gets this huge contract in Denver, and then all these stories start coming out. I mean, he's his own worst enemy because he brings on distraction with all of his social media stuff, all of his cringeworthy things that he says and whatever. But again, I think those play a small part in your performance and lack thereof.
Agreed.
Some of these guys bring it on themselves.
Now, if a kicker has some form of a distraction, they just get cut. Because, you can't have a kicker rolling out there for a game, a season-defining kick with some form of distraction on his mind. That's so obviously with positions and stuff like that, it's different. Ben Leber, Nacho Leber, BenLeber.com. Twin Cities Live today, 3 to 4:30, weekdays, Channel 5. What up? Now, the Vikings have a preseason game 2 weeks from today, 9 o'clock. You'll hear it on KFAN, watch it on Fox 9. It's a simulcast. I happen to be quite excited about it. Nacho is too. Are you accepting in that game? All right, the Seattle game, so the joint practices have not taken place. Tennessee the next week for 2 days, Zona the next week for another 2 days, and I can't wait for those. Are you accepting, even in this Seattle game, are you accepting of the frontliners not playing like we saw last year?
No.
Yeah, see, you're warmer to it, at least here, now than you were last year.
Yes, I'm warmer to it because we had tremendous amount of success last year.
Right.
But again, that's sort of looking at one side of the ball. Defensively, we did not have any success, but our offense, killed it. And I expect, look, I don't want Kirk out there. I personally do. I don't want Kirk out there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing Madison get a few touches. I wouldn't mind seeing what this offense can look like with Jordan Addison.
But Gabe Henderson and I yesterday on the perch, when I was memorizing numbers and body types, we were just like going player by player, just like, do you think this player will play in the preseason? And I mean, it's some of the interesting names here would be like Lewisine. All right, what do you do with Lewisine? He needs to play, but you don't really want to put him in a spot off an injury. Well, see, I don't like talking like that because then you're coming at it scared. And if you come at it scared, you're going to get beat.
Scared money don't make no money.
Right. And if the player's coming at it scared, you know better than anybody, not that it happened to you, but if the player has trepidation and is a little scared about something, well, then they're probably going to get hurt or they'll be in a weird spot.
Yeah. Look, there's so much named talent on offense that I'm okay. Look, I don't want Justin. I don't want Justin to play.
Right.
I don't want Kirk to play.
KJ.
I probably don't want,
TJ.
KJ should probably play. I don't think I want TJ to play.
Darisaw?
I don't think I want Darisaw to play. I don't want O'Neal to play. So it could be a case by case basis.
What about Ty Chandler? Okay, and
he has to play.
I understand that. However, last year Dalvin didn't play. Madison didn't play. The first two running backs got no snaps in the preseason. Well, why wouldn't the first two running backs this year get any snap? Why wouldn't they get the opportunity?
I don't know. I just think that there's so many lack of game reps that I feel like you've got to get him a guy like that in there, even though he's number 2 right now.
But game reps from Mullins and Hall.
Yes.
Are those really regular season game reps? Yes, they are.
Yeah. I mean, for the preseason, those guys should play all the time, right? They need to play. Now, the thing is, I'll be a little bit of hypocrisy here. On defense, I don't think Harrison needs to play, Harrison Smith. I think Jordan Hicks should. I'm on the fence with it.
He ain't going to play.
The point is, with new defense, and I get they're not going to show their cards for everything. We know that they're not going to be showing all their disguises and all their packages and all their different looks and all the different fronts. Well, I understand that. But I do think it's important for this defense to find some sort of rhythm within a game-like situation. And this defense has zero room for error. You want to talk about one side of the ball hitting the ground and running and cannot, they need to come out and absolutely prove that they are a better defense from last year. This team has to do that, I think, in my opinion. The offense, look, I have no worries that eventually, even if they start a little slow, no worries that they're going to pick it back up and they'll get right back to scoring a bunch of points and moving the ball down the field and having fun with it. Defensively, though, and I get it, they owe us nothing.
Right.
They don't owe us anything. I mean, the preseason is up to their discretion. But I would like to see personally, can this defense look like a defense that can play in sync? Do they look competent, even against a vanilla offense? Can they stop the run when they need to stop the run? Can they play situational football? Can we call the right sort of plays, even though it's going to be a vanilla script? I don't know, man. I just want to see some of that to give me a little bit more hope that within the first quarter of the season, we've got a good defense on our hands.
So, not lastly, Nacho was here 6, 7, 8. So, in your fourth year here, 2009, I told Percy he's a rookie, and Brett gets here in 2009. All right.
Down memory lane we go.
Preseason. The Kansas City Chiefs in the third preseason game, which was at Metrodome, that they had barely played any of their ones in the preseason. Gunther Cunningham was their defensive coordinator. Well, Favre had been here 4 days or 5 days, and Chili's going to roll him out there. Well, Gunther Cunningham, I don't know him, but I'm just going to guess he was like, really? We're just going to it's that easy. You just show up and all of a sudden play a National Football League game. Starts all of his ones. Kavika Pittman, they came on 3 consecutive 0 blitzes.
Yeah, the blitzing was ridiculous.
Remember?
Yeah.
And Kavika Pittman put the hardest preseason hit on a player I've ever seen in my life. Well, with the exception of Adrian Peterson running through David Barrett in a preseason game against the Jets in Adrian's rookie year. That was unbelievable. But he just kept 0 blitzing. I don't care if you go over the top and Bernard Berrien's wide open. Take the points. Mm-hmm. But you better be quick twitch because you ain't done nothing in a long time. And if you think it's that easy to just show up and we're going to be on the sacrificial lambs on the other side, that ain't going to happen. So they use some of their ones. Kavika Pittman puts the hardest hit on Brett Favre this side of Corey Wooten. So that there still can be a cat and mouse kind of chess matchish thing to preseason games. I don't really know if we're going to get that during the course of the Minnesota Vikings preseason. But what I do know we're going to get is you on Twin Cities Live today from 3 to 4:30. You're at Mystic Lake Casino Hotel again.
That's correct. Yep.
For the Rib Fest.
For the Midwest Rib Fest.
Yep. 3 to 4:30, Channel 5, Twin Cities Live. And 2 weeks from today, we will be on television and radio calling a preseason game from the Cappuccino Capital. Thank you, my brother.
Thanks, man. Can't wait for 2 weeks from today.
I'm so excited to get out on the road, man. Walk around those hills. And
I know, and it's Seattle too, man. Get a great coffee.
It's hard to find coffee in Seattle. That's why
It's really difficult. It's really difficult.
Can't wait, man. Yeah, I'm all of a sudden super excited for this. All right, see you, brother.
See ya.
That's Ben Leber. I'm Paul Allen. It's 10:40
on the Fan.
Welcome back. News du Nord is brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park. The Casino features poker, blackjack, and table games all year round. Good food and refreshments as well. Live racing calendar in play. Live racing tonight, by the way. Scheduling note. This is why you need to put CanterburyPark.com as one of your browser favorites.
Ain't you nice?
Because then you would know that Canterbury's first post time tonight, because of that 96-degree heat I talked about a minute ago, that's going to put post times back to 7 p.m., so that the horses can ride and you can abide and you can enjoy the live racing without sweating to death. CanterburyPark.com.
Number 1.
News du Nord aside before you riff.
Yeah.
What's the protocol on mowing the lawn from a time standpoint? And here's what I mean. It's
too early, too late type of thing.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's more so the too early I'm getting at, because it's 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. It's still 80, high 80s, maybe low 90s. But 6:30, 6:45 in the morning.
Yeah,
that's just a perfect time to mow the lawn.
It is.
But is there a protocol on that?
I wouldn't do it. The other tough thing too is in the morning it's dewy. It's a little dewy, so the grass can be wet.
Great point.
If you're mowing it that early in the morning, which can create kind of some annoyances or inconveniences there.
No doubt.
I have the sprinkler running at that time as well.
Yep.
But I would say I would be okay with it on a weekday at that time in the morning. So if you were my neighbor and it was a weekday, I'm already up at that time. Mow that thing all day long. Yeah. I'm totally cool with it.
But what is your take on mowing in the day when it's 96, heat index 104?
Well, my take on that is I was definitely needing to mow the lawn about 3 days ago when I returned from Brainerd.
Yeah.
It has yet to be mowed.
Yeah.
So we're going to wait until either tomorrow early afternoon or Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And we'll catch up on the lawn.
Yeah, I got you on that.
That's where I'm at. With the Minnesota Twins, they lose 8-7 yesterday. The Mariners got all over Joe Ryan. Ryan just able to do 3 2/3. Balazovic didn't even know who he was or that he was on the team. He gave up another few. 8-7 the final. Twins had a 4-run 6, so they gave it a go to make it close, but not enough. Joe Ryan, by the way, PA, since a complete game shutout Speaking of 90s weather, took Ava and Stella, was so excited, got nice seats behind the dugout. But in a sunny day game at Target Field, there's this very clear demarcation line of seats that will never get shade.
Right.
And then 4 rows behind me, tons of shade. It was 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Spent like an inning and a half in those seats.
Yeah.
Caught a few more up on the concourse and headed out. And I was able to head out after 5 innings because Joe Ryan pitched a complete game shutout. Buxton had a couple of home runs. Correa, I think, had a first inning home run. It was
they
sweet.
play, Boston?
It was Boston.
Yeah, Boston.
But since that complete game shutout in the heat at Target Field, Joe Ryan's given up 24 runs in 28 innings. So something's up there.
Yeah.
Needs to be watched. And in the meantime, the Twins are making moves. Maybe not the moves that some Twins fans hoped or were thinking about, but Jorge Lopez
For now.
heads down to Miami, and Dylan Floro comes back. I saw this from The Athletic. Dan Hayes and Aaron Gleeman co-opted a piece. And here's a snippet of it. For Minnesota, the motivation to swap Lopez for Floro is clear. Simply, we're never able to trust Lopez in the type of high-leverage role they acquired him to fill last season. So 2024 team control was no longer of much value. Floro's poor ERA masks, strong secondary numbers, largely in line with his career norms, including a 41-11 strikeout to walk ratio, just 2 homers allowed in 40 innings. So you have Floro here, and you have Jorge Lopez there, and that's at least one transaction that's taken place for the home team.
Yeah, and when I say I mostly like our bullpen, because I've been watching a fair amount lately, it's like all facets of the Minnesota Twins through this stage of the 2023. Correct me if you think I'm wrong. Just when it's like the team is a diabolical trick to try to put you in compromising positions so that you say something, and then all of a sudden the next day it flips, and it's like, ha ha,
Correct.
Your position has been usurped. Remember how hot and negative and dark it was on the Twins hitting? Well, then they started scoring 7 to 9 runs every game for 2 weeks.
Exactly.
All right, well, then they go punchless. And then with the starting pitching is ballyhooed until Ryan does what you say. Kenta Maeda has so much dog to him. I mean, in the early innings, I mean, he's got some nasty-ass stuff, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it's like, see, he's back.
Right.
Here we go. Well, then he falls off a cliff, and then he's gone, and then like the Balzova-Gitch or whatever his name is. I mean, you see him sometimes, and you're like, oh my God, where did this new age Andres Munoz come from?
Or Emilio Pagan. He goes through this stretch where he's awful.
Yeah.
He has 16 performances where he gives up 2 runs over that stretch.
And then it gets worse.
I praised him, and then he got his ass kicked the other day.
Right. Well, that is your 2023 Minnesota Twins, like, diabolical take.
Yeah.
It's just when you get over the hump on something, it not only goes the other way, it goes the other way for size.
Yeah.
I mean, Seattle hanging the numbers Seattle hung on us. I mean, I don't have Stathead or FIP or WAR in front of me, but the baseball version of the Super Chickens, let's put it this way, the 27 Yankees are not always blushing. They got this Teoscar Hernandez or whatever. He should be a Twin, because 1 week he'll hit 3 home runs, then he won't hit 3 home runs for 3 months. You know, they got J-Rod, of course, he can play, but I mean, it's like we're giving up too many runs to teams that are not identifiable with crooked numbers.
Right.
Okay, but then you get negative on them. They face a super good team and a super good pitcher, and they win the game. And it's like a playoff baseball professional scenario. Then you're like, we're back. And then the next game, the Blauza-Govadic, he gives up a 3-run homer in the 8th inning, and we lose again.
With that said, a 13-game stretch ahead in which the Twins hopefully can make some hay. They got 3 at Kansas City, 3 at St. Louis. Diamondbacks sneaky good and competitive in the NL West, but we get 3 of those at home, and then we're at Detroit for 4.
So we're at KC for the barbecue weekend. And then after that, like Monday, St. Louis?
It should be straight up Monday at St. Louis.
Monday or Tuesday, which is perfect because...
It'll be Tuesday, yeah.
Okay, why don't you do this? Tuesday's trade deadline day. Why don't you just leave town with Paul Goldschmidt on your flight.
That'd be super easy.
Yeah, just go ahead or you know what? At this stage, I'd accept Nolan Gorman or maybe Jordan Walker.
So the trade deadline is Tuesday or Wednesday?
Tuesday.
It is Tuesday.
Whatever day the first is.
Okay, so what's perfect about that is we trade for Goldschmidt.
Yep.
Then there's no getting on a plane because we're there for 3 days. He just suits up for the Twins and plays Tuesday night against his now former team.
Well, in fact, you can even have him play for St. Louis on Tuesday and hope he goes 0 for 5 because then maybe you save some money. Then maybe you save something on term, and then you get him the next day 4 for 4, 2 home runs, circling the bags.
Couple of NFL bits as we wrap up the segment here. Aaron Rodgers took on paper, he's going to get paid a bunch of money regardless. But
and he wears number 8, which looks weird.
It looks weird. A lot of people, there was a kind of meme style going after him because he looks so thin now.
Oh, but the Sauce Guard, who's 17 for the Jets?
Sauce Gardner, number 17, I think, is Garrett Wilson.
Okay.
The wide receiver.
Wow. Hard Knocks is starting to like leak things to promote Hard Knocks Jets. And man, they put something out good this morning with Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, Sauce is number 1, I think.
Yeah, just dog on dog with slapping fives, not this. I got you, I got mine, I got mine, I got mine. Or I am that MF. I am that MF. I'm Patrick Mahomes. There was mutual respect by a couple of stars, and they were battling in Super Bowl-like fashion. I mean, they were giving everything. And then, Wilson got Sauce really good on a stutter step, and Rodgers, of course, dime over the middle, 30-yard gain, first down, move the chains. Second one, Sauce was a little slow off the line. Recovery speed was terrific. Must have learned that from Trey Waynes. And then he got there and knocked it away, and he runs back, to go play defense again. Aaron Rodgers is like, that second play, really good job, man. I don't know. I just love that stuff,
Well, he wants to. It's like his eyes have been opened in very, very predictable situation. But in an unpredictable way, he gave up $35 million so that the Jets could save some cap. So he effectively
gave it up, and he's not going to get it back down the road?
Well, there was some question about whether or not he would return next year, if this would be a one-year thing.
Oh, yeah.
He said in a presser, I think, to open camp, that it would be disrespectful or something of that nature to just be here for 1 year with what they gave up for me.
Aaron's the kind of guy where in that scenario, I'm surprised he didn't say, well, quite honestly, I've never been happier.
But he signed a 2-year, $75 million contract that's fully guaranteed.
Yeah.
But that saves, I think, $34 or $35 million this year.
Yeah.
Which lends me to say, and end with this, Dalvin Cook on a plane up to New York.
Yeah.
That would hurt me a little bit.
Play action to Dalvin, deep to Garrett Wilson. That'll work from A-Raj.
Yeah.
A-Raj with the A-bomb. In closing, let me ask you this, because I was asked this question last night at CBY Track Flat. Who do you like to win the AFC East?
AFC East? Mm-hmm. I still put it on the Bills.
Right. I'm glad you do. I don't. Now, I like the Jets to win the AFC East, and I'm not being a prisoner of moment. I just prisoner of the moment. They came here last year. I left it saying, this staff is the bomb. I learned a lot about their staff during the week. So this coaching staff is the bomb. The quarterback situation sucks, but they fixed that. Wilson's sitting on a big one. Sauce is already good. And I just think with Rodgers, they naturally will take a leap. Miami is kind of a chic team because of the odds to win the division.
Yeah.
But I am noticing that a fair amount of football prognosticators are devaluing the Bills a little too much, because they're remembering the last thing they saw. And when it comes to identifying the best 4 teams in the NFL, remembering what I last saw matters, because we're talking about the conference championship games. So I'll ride with Cincinnati and Patty Mahomes and next level Shanny and Philly. I think those are the best 4, and quite honestly, I don't think it's close. But it's winning the division. That's a different thing than getting to the conference championship game. I don't know what the odds are on the Bills to win the division, but man, I'm just noticing so many people devaluing them, really because of this Diggs situation that kind of was percolating and created last year.
I had a look at it, and
well, they have Ed Ingram at playing 3 technique. I mean, Ingram's unbelievable.
Ingram is incredible on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, the job Ed Oliver, our right guard, did against their three-technique Ed Ingram last year, just a masterpiece by the LSU kid.
I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood, like Bills are plus 130, and then it's Jets -2 or plus 250.
Wow.
Dolphins plus 275. And then Patriots are like 7 or 8 to 1.
Yeah, if the Jets truly are that of a number.
Doesn't it kind of feel like an obvious connection with Packers and Favre and Rodgers? It kind of feels like Favre to the Vikings in 2009 when you look at the type of team. Now, specifically person for person, their defense in New York is more of a story than ours was coming into 2009.
Right.
Our offense and an opportunity to complement a good QB with Adrian and that mix and all of that.
Yeah.
But similarly, it is where you can say that we were almost just a quarterback away in 2009.
Yeah.
And similarly with the Jets, Rodgers going there and some of the things they've worked, they're kind of just a QB away from instantly having a conversation like we just had, winning a division after being third or worst a year ago.
It reminds me of when Sean Mannion came here for the second time.
That's a good point.
Not the first time, the second time.
No, the first time.
And he rode Wildfire over Yellow Mountain, and there were helicopters and cameras and everything. Don't leave home without him. It's 11:01. That's News du Nord, courtesy of Canterbury Park and CanterburyPark.com. Ooh, by the way, we are racing corgis this Sunday, which is always very popular for the kids. We begin at 1 o'clock. We have corgi racing at Canterbury this Sunday on the day. CanterburyPark.com for information. Brian Flores is defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. He speaks, and he spoke to the media yesterday, which in turn is speaking to us, Minnesota Vikings fans. Let's see if B-Flow had anything pertinent to say. We'll listen to the B-Flow replay when 9 to noon continues at FM 100.3 KFAN. Mannion's back in, passes over the middle, incomplete.